Hey everyone! This week's First Chapter Friday is going to be Troublemaker by John Cho. So here's the description. 12-year-old Jordan feels like he can't live up to the example his older sister set, nor his parents' expectations. When he returns home from school one day, hoping to hide his suspension, Los Angeles has reached a turning point. In the wake of the acquittal of the police officers filmed beating Rodney King, as well as the shooting of a young black teen, Latasha Harlins, by a Korean store owner, the country is at the precipice of confronting its racist past and present. As tensions escalate, Jordan's father leaves to check on the family store, spurring Jordan and his friends to embark on a dangerous journey to come to his aid and come to terms with the racism within and affecting their community. So, chapter 1 is going to be a great historical fiction novel. April 29th, 1992. I never knew a pair of shoes could scare me so much. But when I see Uma's and Appa's sneakers by the door when I walk in, I nearly jump right out of my skin. It's not that there's anything out of the ordinary. I mean, the shoes. With Appa's laces fraying at the ends and Uma's looking more gray than white like they did when she first bought them. But what's weird is the fact that they're here at all. It's just a little after 4 p.m. on a Wednesday, and Uma and Appa should both be at the store, not home. I thought I'd have more time before I had to face them today. Their voices are quiet and muffled, coming from the direction of the kitchen. I stand real still near the door, listening, but I can't hear what they're saying from here. I move carefully down the hall, gripping the straps of my backpack with both hands and praying in my head, "Don't see me, don't see me." Just as I'm about to pass the kitchen, Uma looks right at me. "Oh, Jordan, you're home," she says in Korean. She says it all casual, like she's here every day when I get home from school, like I'm not the one who should be saying, "Oh, Uma, you're home." "Yeah," I say back in English. A nervous feeling starts to spread through my stomach, and my prayer changes. "Don't ask me how school was. Don't make me lie to you." By some miracle, she doesn't. She just smiles and nods, turning back to Appa to carry on talking about whatever they were talking about, the air kind of tense and tight between them. Huh, that's weird. Uma always asks how school was. It's pretty much her favorite question. Not to mention, I still don't know what they're both doing home so early. So I linger by the door, wondering whether I should ask or not. But the more questions I ask them, the more questions they might ask me. And I just want to avoid that for as long as possible. Not that Appa would ask me anything, though. This whole time, he hasn't even looked at me once, and I don't know whether to be relieved or disappointed. It's been this way between us for weeks, ever since our big fight. Things haven't been the same since then. It's like time split into a before and after. Before. When I was just Jordan and he was just Appa, and I didn't think twice about being in the same room with him. After, when we're not just Jordan and Appa anymore. We're Jordan, who doesn't know what to say around Appa, and Appa, who basically completely ignores Jordan. He's been so cold to me lately. Ice cold. Maybe he's waiting for me to say sorry first, but there's no way I'm doing that. I mean, maybe this means we'll never talk again until the end of time. And maybe not even then. I stare at the back of his head for a second longer, and then I walk away. Harabioji's in the living room, watching TV and eating ojiongo off the plate. At least grandparents are dependable. Always where you think they'll be, sitting on the couch wearing a fishing vest with 100 pockets, even though you can't remember the last time you actually saw them go fishing. A piece of dried squid between their teeth. At least, that's my grandpa. I don't really know about anyone else's grandparents. "Hi, I'm home," I say, dropping my backpack on the floor and sitting down next to it. He grunts, not even looking up from the TV. He's watching some sitcom I don't recognize. His favorites are usually Full House and Home Improvement, the light reflecting off his huge rectangular glasses. But he's not much of a talker, except when it comes to yelling at the fictional characters on screen. I don't even know if he knows what's going on. It's been 9 years since we immigrated to Los Angeles from Korea altogether, and I'm still not sure how much English he understands. He didn't want to come here anyway. To America, that is. He wanted to stay in Korea in the same house where he and my grandma had lived together for years, saying that he wanted to die in the same room that she did. But Appa said it would be the best thing for all of us and that he wasn't going to leave his own father behind. He eventually convinced him to pack up his life and get on a plane with us, though I remember grandfather being unhappy about it. At least he's found some joy in these American shows. I think he finds them funny. I glanced toward the kitchen and then back at Haraboshi, lowering my voice. Can I tell you something? He grunts again without turning down the volume. Here's the thing about my grandpa. We're not close exactly, but he's the one person in the family that I feel like I can really talk to, even if he doesn't totally get what I'm saying because I speak in English. Maybe that's the reason why I feel okay, or maybe it's just because he's too busy judging made up people on television to judge me. And I know that whatever I tell him, he won't tell anyone else. I got suspended from school today. At this, his eyebrows lift, and I can't be sure if it's from what I said or from something on TV, but I keep going. I got sent to the principal's office again for cheating on a Spanish quiz, or I guess getting caught cheating. Again, Mr. Martins was so mad. I make a face hearing his voice in my head. He always talks real slow, like he's speaking through a mouthful of chewing gum. He kept saying how he's seen me in his office more than any other sixth grader in the school and how he can't even count how many times I've been caught cheating now. And then you know what he says? He says I should try to be more like Sarah. Says that when she was in middle school, she was a model student. How could the Park siblings be so different? She probably makes your parents so proud, and you, well, they'll be so disappointed in you, won't they? I scoff, but I feel my shoulders slumping. Mr. Martins doesn't need to tell me what a disappointment I am to my parents. I already know. Appa told me so himself. Haraboshi turns off the TV, startling me. He leans forward in his seat, his left hand on his knee. He's only got 3 fingers on that hand. He lost a pinky and ring finger during the Korean War. Uma says it's rude to stare, but it's kind of hard not to when I'm sitting on the floor, basically at eye level with it. I look at his face instead. He locks his eyes on mine, his mouth set in a grim line. Uh-oh. Did I overestimate how safe my secrets are with him? My face flushes. Is he going to rat me out to Uma and Appa after all? He holds out his empty plate with his right hand. Get me more, he says in Korean. I ate it all. Oh, of course. Yes. I take the empty plate and I head for the kitchen, but as I get closer, I can hear Uma and Appa talking, only it's not in those low voices I heard earlier. They're louder now, almost yelling. Are they fighting? I stay in the hallway listening. My Korean is not so great anymore, but I understand more than I speak, and I pick up every word. I think you're worrying too much about nothing, Appa says. You can never be too careful, Uma says back. She sounds exasperated, angry. People are mad about what happened to Rodney King. Tell me you're not even a little bit worried that something bad might happen out of that today. Of course they're mad. Who wouldn't be mad? Now Appa's the one who sounds annoyed. Doesn't mean that bad things are going to happen. There's no reason to think so. It will be fine. You heard what they said on Radio Korea. They said there may be protests, so we should pay attention. We need to stay alert. And we did, didn't we? We closed the shop early and came home. That's enough. You're always thinking farther ahead than you need to. How do you think I've carried us this far? I won't let this store fail like our last one. Someone has to think about this family. It's like she sucker punched him with her words. There's this long silence, and I don't even realize it at first, but I'm holding my breath. I feel that if I let it out, the plate in my hands will crack and the air will explode, and Haraboji will never get his squid because there's thunder and lightning standing between me and the kitchen. Uma is the thunder, and maybe the lightning too. Fine, she says finally. I'll go. Go where? To board up the store. Before Appa can reply or even take a step, Uma storms out of the kitchen. She doesn't see me. She's too focused pushing the little wisps of hair falling from her stubby ponytail out of her eyes and reaching for the coat closet. She grabs the handle of the sliding mirrored door and pulls hard. And what happens next is everything shatters. At first, I think I've dropped the plate. But when I look down, it's still in my hand. And it wasn't me that broke. It was Uma. The closet door's always been too flimsy, teetering on loose tracks, and Uma pulled it open so hard it finally gave up and jumped the tracks. The whole mirrored door cracks and explodes into shards on the floor. She yells and jumps back and then just stands there, breathing heavy. What was that? Haraboji shouts from the living room. Everything's fine, Uma shouts back, even though I think what she means is really the opposite. Appa comes out of the kitchen and looks at Uma standing there with that broken mirror all around her, and then he notices me. Sometimes I forget how tall he is, but when he looks at me, he has to look way down the way I do when I look at ants on the sidewalk. He stares, and I stare back, and right at his bushy eyebrows and permanent furrow in his brow, like God stuck his thumb there for too long and left a dent. It's the first time we've really made eye contact since the big fight. I'm bracing myself all over, and I think maybe he's going to say something, and he does, but not to me. He walks over to Uma and puts his hands on her shoulders. I'll go board the store up, he says. I'll call you when I'm there. Then he reaches into the doorless coat closet and grabs his jacket, takes his car keys off the hook on the wall, puts on his shoes with the fraying laces, and leaves. He doesn't look back once. And that is chapter 1 of Troublemaker. So the rest of this is actually going to follow the race riots and what happened in LA in 92 after the Rodney King trial. And if you don't know anything about that, definitely be sure to Google it just a little bit and see what that whole situation was, because that heavily impacts what happens in this book. So I do think you will enjoy Troublemaker. Be sure to run by the library and check it out if that sounded good to you.